51. Truly I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, we're back to this keeping his word. Everything is about obeying the gospel of the kingdom as Jesus preached it. If anybody keeps my gospel of the kingdom, he will never see death. More literally, will not see death forever. Everybody dies, but they will not see death forever because they will be resurrected. He will never see death. Doesn't mean he won't die at all, because in a subsequent verse, it says that even though a man died, he will live. So death is a reality for all of us, but death is not the end because resurrection will intervene. Jews said to him, now we know you have a demon. Abraham died, and the prophets also. And you say, if anyone keeps my word, he will never taste of death. Surely you're not greater than our father Abraham, who died. Well, they didn't understand. When Jesus said, you will never die, he doesn't exclude the resurrection, which is the only way to life from death. Prophets died. They said in verse 53, who in the world do you think you are? Talking about not dying. Well, they hadn't understood, as they should, that though you die, yet you can be raised from the dead. And earlier in John 5, Jesus had said that everybody will be resurrected from their tombs, even though they shall have died. We read in John 5:54, Jesus answered, if I glorify myself, my glory is nothing. It's my Father who glorifies me. It's the Father who backs Jesus, who supports him, who vindicates him at every point, of whom you say, he's our God. Well, that was just a falsehood on their part to say that the true God was their God. If the true God were their God, then of course they would obey and do what Jesus, as representing God, asked them to do, and they were doing the opposite. You have not come to know the true God. That's John 17:3 again. You, 55, you Pharisees have not come to know the true God as the only one who is true God, John 17:3, but I, Jesus, know him. If I say I don't know him, I'll be a liar like you. My goodness. I'll be a liar like you awful people. But I do know him, and knowing him means keeping his gospel message. You cannot love Jesus if you don't love his gospel. You cannot say, oh, isn't Jesus wonderful, and then deny his teaching. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day. That's to say, Abraham was so thrilled, looking forward to the coming of the Messiah, my day, my messianic day, his first coming and his second coming. And he saw it and was very glad about that. Abraham did. Because the gospel, you remember, Paul said, was first preached, or formally preached, to Abraham. And Abraham believed the gospel, and that's what made Abraham right rather than wrong. And that's what will make you, as a believer in the gospel of the kingdom, will make you right, simply believing the words of Jesus. So the Jews said to him in verse 57, you're not even 50 years old. Have you seen Abraham? Well, he didn't say he'd seen Abraham, did he? Exactly the opposite of what he said. He didn't say that he'd seen Abraham. He'd said that Abraham had seen his future day. Quite a different thing. Then in 58, Jesus said to them, amen, amen, I'm telling you. Before Abraham was born, before Abraham came into existence, I am he. I'm the Messiah, of course, in God's great plan. He wasn't claiming to have seen Abraham literally. He did say that Abraham looked forward to the Messiah. And what's more, I'll tell you that I am the Messiah, that's to say, in God's great plan, even before Abraham was born. That was too much for them. So they picked up stones to throw at him, but he escaped almost miraculously, as after his first sermon in Luke 4, they tried to throw him off the cliff, and he sort of disappeared in the midst of them. And here he did it again, hid himself and went out of the temple. So let's remember from this chapter that the phrase, ego eimi, I am he, means I'm the Messiah. It doesn't mean I'm God. Certainly, in the case of Moses, he heard the words from God, ego eimi oon, were the words given to Moses from God. That means I, God, am the self-existing one, oon, the being. That's what was said to Moses. But Jesus never, ever said that. He said, I am the Messiah, and as I showed you in chapter 4, it means I'm the Messiah. That was the conversation with the lady from Samaria.